Right friends, welcome back to news analysis and features. This is 33rd week and important events which we are going to deliberate for this week are Google continuing the saga of experimentation. It started the holding company of Alphabet. Second important aspect is currency devaluation by China, how it affects the world economy as a whole. Last event is can Indradhanush save the public sector banks? So these three issues we are going to discuss. The first and the foremost is Google continuing the saga of experimentation. All of you are well aware Google was started as a web search business in the year 1998. It is USA based, started by Larry Page and Sergey Brin. These two are the founders, and recently Google announced that it is starting the parental company Alphabet, right? So Alphabet will be the parental company, going to be headed by Larry Page, who will be the CEO. Please don't forget, Larry Page and Sergey Brin are the founders of Google. Now it formed Alphabet, parental company, which will be headed by Larry Page as Chief Executive Officer and Sergey Brin as President, and it will have several verticals under it. The Alphabet will have several verticals under it. Google is one of them. Just like Google, there are other verticals like Google Fiber, Nest, Sidewalk, Google X, Calico, Google Capital, Google Ventures. So these are all different verticals of Alphabet. So the parental company of Alphabet will be headed by Larry Page, and one of its verticals, most important of its verticals, Google, will be headed by Sundar Pichai, India born, Chennai born, 42-year-old executive. Previously he was a senior vice president with Google. Now he is going to head the Google vertical of Alphabet. Right. Before going into the analysis of what are the pluses and minuses of having this arrangement, let us look at Google. I have already told you it was started in the year 1998. The successful experiments of Google, if you look at, one is Google search engine, YouTube, Android operating system, Gmail, Google News. So these are all the successful experiments. If you look at somewhat of failures, social networking site Orkut, it was already dissolved in the year 2014. Google Plus, this is a social networking site but not successful. Google Glass, it failed to live up to the expectations. It is a wearable computer. So these three are the prominent failures you can say, but the successes are YouTube, Android, search engine, then Gmail, then Google News to some extent. So this is all about Google, and it's a saga for the past 17 years. Now suddenly Google announced that it is starting parental company Alphabet, and recently some people are commenting about loss of focus on its operations by Google, because Google is into several ambitious projects, or you can say crazy projects, or you can say moonshot projects, and when it is diversifying into various crazy projects, several people in recent times commented that Google is losing its focus on the original money generating arm of its search or YouTube or whatever it is. Now keeping that in mind, or taking those comments into consideration, realizing their own pitfalls, now Google came up with Alphabet. And what exactly is it? Alphabet will be parental company and it will have several verticals. One is the Nest. It is internet connected devices for home. Various devices at home, refrigerator, air conditioner, microwave oven, all will be connected to the internet. That means houses, all the equipment will be connected to the internet, that is Nest. The other one is the Sidewalk, that is focusing on smart cities. Google X, that is planned to develop self-driving cars, or you can say driverless cars, as well as delivery drones. They are all self-driving, driverless cars. That is the ambitious project of Google X. Google Fiber, that is giving high-speed internet. Then anti-aging biotech company Calico. Calico is to look at anti-aging. All of you are well aware, if the person reaches 80 or 90 years, certainly he loses the stimulus, and for anti-aging, now Alphabet will have one vertical, that is Calico. They have Google Capital, Google Ventures. So these are all different verticals. If you look at the verticals, Google is one of them, which will be headed by Sundar Pichai of Chennai, right? So now this reorganization, if you ask what are the advantages and what are the challenges, let us look at the advantages. Google started and it is working with the motto of crazy ideas and innovation. Google is working with crazy ideas and innovation. Now this anti-aging vertical of Calico, driverless cars, Sidewalk, Nest, these are all innovative, and some of them are crazy ideas also, especially Calico is a crazy idea. So Google is always built on innovation, and they are continuing the saga of innovation. The second important aspect is it separates moonshot projects. You may ask, what is moonshot? Moonshot project is nothing but trying to keep the crazy idea into practice, trying to bring crazy idea into practice. Sometimes it may be successful, sometimes it may not be successful. So to separate the moonshot projects like Calico, I have already told you, Google X, Calico, these type of projects Google want to separate from the core projects of this YouTube, web search and Android, right? So to separate moonshot projects, Google has taken this decision. And third important point is the advantage, as I have already told you, to separate the money-making businesses of Google so as to win the confidence of investors. The fourth important aspect is to face the challenges with the perspective of diversification. How far the Google generated projects will stand in this fast changing technology world, examples of Microsoft are in front of us. So getting some cue from the failures of some of the important world organizations, probably Google has taken this decision to carve out a parental company and to separate its activities of Google from the other moonshot projects or ambitious crazy projects. Look at the challenges. First and the foremost is, so far Google not able to develop successful social networking site. In future, social networking site may become inevitable because lot of revenue is being generated through social networking sites. Facebook is one example. Second important aspect is challenge from Facebook, as it is coming up with video streaming services. Substantial portion of income for Google comes from YouTube. Now Facebook is coming up with a video streaming service. So it may dent into the revenues, or it may pose a challenge to YouTube or Google. Third is challenge from Facebook and others in mobile advertising space that cannot be underestimated by Google. And the fourth important aspect is several technology startups are coming up nowadays with crazy ideas and which may pose a threat in future also. So these are the challenges, and probably to overcome the challenges so as to separate money spinning arms from other crazy ideas, so as to separate money spinning arms from the other crazy projects? Google has taken this decision. Only time can say how these verticals will progress under Alphabet. Right? Let us tell good wishes to Sundar Pichai, who has taken over as CEO of Google. Right friends, look into the next issue of the week. Currency devaluation by China, how it affects the world economy. Please don't confuse between currency appreciation and depreciation. When government is not interfering, depending on the demand for currency, currency sometimes may appreciate, sometimes may depreciate. But this is altogether different. This time China has devalued the currency by 1.9% and 1.6%, 2 times in a week. And why it has resorted to it? Because of 4 reasons. First and the foremost is producer price index fell by 5.4% in recent times. Producer price index is the cost of the goods produced domestically. The domestic cost of goods fallen by 5.4%. Second important aspect is exports fell by 8.3%. You may ask a question, when the currency is devalued, how the exports will increase? When the currency is devalued, how it will give impetus to the economy? I would like to tell you, when the currency is devalued, then exports will become competitive in the world market. Exports will become competitive. Let us assume $1 is 60 rupees. Let us assume $1 is 60 rupees. I am selling this item in United States of America for $1. I am selling this item in United States of America for $1. If the exchange rate is 60 rupees, I will get 60. If the exchange rate is 60 rupees, I will get 60. Let us assume a situation, government devalued the currency to 100 rupees. Against $1, let us assume a situation, government devalued the currency to 100 rupees for each dollar. Then by selling this product, I will get 100 rupees. Or otherwise, I can sell this in United States of America for $0.9 instead of $1. So, my exports or our exports will become competitive against the products of other countries. So, impetus to exports will be there when the currency is devalued. So, because of fall in exports, China devalued its currency. Third is to increase the market orientation of the economy. Fourth important aspect is government's intervention to boost the economy as it is facing the worst ever growth rates since 1990. Since 1990, Chinese economy has grown at around 10% per annum for around 20 years. Now the growth rate is below 7%. So as to give boost to the economy, China devalued its currency. Let us look at the positives. Positives is we have already discussed. It will give impetus to exports. More economic activity because exports will increase. China will utilize excess capacity already created. More employment opportunities will be there. And what are the negatives? There are several negatives, but these are not that important from Chinese perspective. Capital outflows may take place. This point may be important for a country like India, but not for China. When the currency is devalued, capital flight may take place. Second important aspect is foreign currency borrowers will be affected. If somebody borrowed money in the foreign land, he will be affected. Similarly, case of China to become the official reserve currency will be weakened. When government itself is devaluing the currency, there is no point for the world to accept the Chinese currency as the official reserve currency, and the currency is based on managed float. It is not free float. Chinese currency is managed float. It is managed by the Central Bank of China. Not like other countries' currencies. Other countries' currencies are free floats. Depending on the market volatility, they will appreciate or they will depreciate. But Chinese currency is managed by the China, right? And this is the rarest of the rare thing, and resorting to devaluation of currency is not a right thing, right? When it comes to India, how it affects? I would like to be brief. I have given this in this PPT. Steel sector will be the worst hit. Already India is suffering because of steel imports, cheap steel imports from China. Second important aspect is manufacturers of tires, tiles and power equipment will be affected. Trade deficit may further widen with China. India has got more trade deficit with China. So these are all the negative points for Indian perspective, and effect on other countries is Chinese goods will become cheaper in other countries. So domestic economies will be affected. Domestic industries will be affected. Second important aspect is several countries are suffering from slowdown or downturn in the world at present, and cheap Chinese goods availability will further affect their economies. One more important aspect is this may give rise to new round of currency wars. Some other country may try to devalue its currency, because I have already told you, when the currency is devalued, then what will happen? Exporters will be benefited. The last important point is China consumes almost 40 to 50% of metals globally, and already aluminum, copper, lead prices have fallen by 20 to 25%, and it may affect the sector further in the world. So these are the effects on India as well as other countries, and only time can say whether Chinese currency will get the status of official currency of special drawing rights or SDR in International Monetary Fund, because when the currency is managed by the country, probably International Monetary Fund may not agree or may delay the Chinese case of becoming official currency under SDRs, special drawing rights, right? At present under SDRs there are only 4 currencies. Chinese currency is not one among them. Right friends, let us look at the last event, Indradhanush, 7-point action plan for public sector banks. We have discussed in the lecture part what are these aspects. Based on Pichai Nayak committee recommendations, several suggestions were made by Pichai Nayak committee to refurbish the public sector banks. Now, Finance Minister unveiled 7-point action plan. Appointment of private sector professionals into the public sector banks. Second important aspect is the Bank Board Bureau. Bank Board Bureau in future will look into the appointments. It will start functioning from April 1, 2016, and subsequently separate holding company will be created to hold the shares of government in that. Instead of the government, the shares will be held by separate holding company that will be announced subsequently. Capitalization of banks, government will give 70,000 crores of rupees in 4 years. Government will take measures to bring down the gross NPAs. Greater flexibility in hiring the staff. Some middle management staff will be allowed to be taken from private sector. Then governance reforms will be discussed during the Gyan Sangam to be held in January 2016, and employee stock ownership plans or ESOPs will be thought of for top management, and performance bonus will also be included in these reforms. So this is called Indradhanush, unveiled by the Finance Minister. But what are the problems faced by public sector banks? I listed out 10 points. Abnormally high gross non-performing assets. The private sector banks have non-performing assets, that means bad loans of around 1 to 2%, whereas public sector banks have gross non-performing assets around 5 to 6%. Whatever the reason, but banks are suffering badly because of this bad loans or high gross non-performing assets. Falling CASA ratios. CASA funds are the cheapest funds for the banking system. CASA is a savings deposit and current account deposits. Current account deposits are the deposits by businessmen. They are going to the private sector banks because of hospitality, because of technological upgradation. That's why this CASA ratio is coming down for public sector banks, which is not acceptable because CASA ratio is around 40% for private sector banks, the new generation private sector banks, whereas for public sector banks it is around 25 to 30%. And this is not at all a good sign for public sector banks. Of course, the notable exception is State Bank of India. Third is less accountability because it is government service. Not aggressive in getting fee-based income. Fee-based income, how the banks will get? POS terminals, point of sale terminals. If you go to some merchant shop, if you go to shopper stop, if you go to lifestyle, you will have normally the point of sale terminals of either Axis Bank or ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank, but not by the public sector banks. They are good source of income to the banks, but public sector banks fail to tap that. Poor mechanism to assess the credit worthiness of the borrowers. The middle management is not trained to look into the aspects of credit worthiness of the borrowers. Next aspect is delay in appointments. Several times it is the norm in public sector. Technological upgradation is not matching with the private sector banks like Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank. Of course, exception is SBI. Other than SBI, there are very few public sector banks which match with the technological upgradation of private sector peers. Poor customer service. Next important aspect is poor hospitality to high-end customers, then bureaucratic apathy. These are the problems faced by the public sector banks, and the Indradhanush may not be able to bring banks out of the problems, but certainly lot more things needs to be done. First and the foremost is government's stake to be brought down to below 50%. At present, in public sector banks, government's stake is more than 51%. So it is the majority stake. They are taking the decisions managerially. The stake should come down to below 51%. That means the government shareholding should come down to below 50%. That will bring the banks out of political interference, will bring the banks out of CVC or CBI hassles. Then functioning on pure commercial lines is possible. Only government comes out of the managerial control. Second aspect is concentrate on fee-based income. Several public sector banks are not concentrating on fee-based income. Another important aspect is strengthen middle management through lateral entry, because the credit appraisal or risk management systems of several public sector banks are not up to the mark. Then most important is please ensure technological upgradation, especially the internet banking and other channels at par with the private sector peers like HDFC, ICICI or Axis Bank, and improve customer service and hospitality so that you can attract more current account deposits, which are the most profitable deposits in the banking system. So these are the points still needs to be done by the Government of India so as to bring public sector banks out of the problems. And with this, let us conclude the news analysis and features, and please do join for questions and answers general as well as questions and answers banking. Have a nice day. Thank you.